Rieger or Riger?
Rieger, Your Honor.
Rieger, okay. Ms. Delgado,
Yes.
you have video? There you go. Thank you. And then Mr. Zimprich.
Good morning, Judge. If you could just give me 1 minute and I'll turn on the video.
No problem.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule, I believe.
Yes, yeah, no, we are. I just want to ask a few questions before we got started. Are you expecting anybody else to log on?
No, you.
Ms. Delgado?
No.
Okay. Ms. Zimprich?
Good morning, Judge. I think we are still missing one tenant, Mr. Oliver, that should be here shortly.
That's fine. I was just looking at the case, and there's no answer on file from any defendant. It's Ms. Delgado, you're making an appearance, which constitutes an answer, but are you going to file an answer?
I believe I had with Mr. Ben Garza.
You filed an answer? Okay, let me see if I can find it. Ben, is there an answer? I don't see one. I don't know if I'm.
Judge, let me take a look at it. The only thing that was filed was Ms. Delgado's the only one that responded to that.
Oh, the documents that are all dropped off. This is what we're.
Yes, those are the evidence.
Are you going to file an answer though?
I believe I had, sir.
Okay. When and how?
Through email. And I went in person with Mr. Garza to drop off that evidence. He told me that I had to go ahead and submit all this evidence through email as well.
I've got the evidence, but I just don't have any answer. You know, when you filed the answer?
When we got served, we had 10 days to answer.
I haven't, okay, look that up. You know when you filed the answer?
I don't have it in front of me, Your Honor.
You have a copy of your answer?
The answer is when we through email.
Your answer?
I'm sorry?
You have a copy of your answer?
I don't. I didn't know I needed one.
Well, if
I
you
just-
filed it, you
I
have
just-
to have a copy of it.
I just responded through email.
Oh, so you didn't e-file it?
I'm misunderstanding. I answered to the served papers with Mr. Garza
A written answer?
through email, correct?
The other defendant, Mr. Wolfgang Jeffrey, is he going to answer?
Yes, he is here.
I'm here, Your Honor.
Have you filed an answer?
No, I was going to.
We've got the email where it says that we both answered. And that was given,
Email.
that was emailed to us on, let's see here. Let me look in my emails. Okay, so on the 9/18, September 18th of 21,
Uh-huh.
I've gotten an answer here saying that for the cause here, I have just filed, and this is, I guess, their attorney. The petition modifies and the claims that includes Ms. Delgado as a party to the action. It's already filed responsive documents in the case. So we're under the understanding that we were already filed.
Well, I'm talking about an answer as a defendant. It's just not correspondence. I mean, it can be correspondence, but I'm just wondering if you all intend to file an answer. Yes, no?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. I'm not following.
Mr. Zimprich filed a lawsuit, and are you going to file an, then have you filed anything?
Judge, there was never an answer filed by the defendant was Jeffrey Wolfgang. That was the initial defendant. He never filed an answer. The only thing that we received was from Ms. Delgado, and that was just the evidence.
Okay. So no answer's been filed. Okay,
so-
can we send them just a copy of a blank answer?
Sure, I'll email it right now.
Okay. Okay, your presence constitutes an answer, but you need to file a written answer. So are you denying the claim under the lawsuit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you need to file we're going to send you a blank form. You need to file a written answer, both of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are we ready to proceed today?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zimprich?
Your Honor, I'm still waiting for Mr. Oliver to
Oh,
join
that's
us.
right. Oh, yeah, here he is. I'm sorry. I just didn't talking. Mr. Oliver, if you can unmute. It's a blue button. There you go. Great.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Okay,
Sorry,
any testimony, if you please raise your right hand. Mr. Oliver, if you want to raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I do.
Yes, okay. Okay, Mr. Zimprich, you want to tell me what this is about?
Yes, Your Honor. My clients rented a property at 1668 Bulco Way. They were in the property for approximately 2 years, from April of 2019 to April of 2021. The evidence will show that when they entered the property was not in pristine condition. It had deferred maintenance, paint damage, and was in need of cosmetic repairs. During the tenancy, there was several issues of the landlord, who's actually a licensed real estate agent, would show up unannounced to the property, no prior notice. She would do monthly inspections. She would advise the tenants of needed repairs, and they would complete those repairs. The tenancy terminated in April of 2021. And after termination, the tenants who received, and will show evidence of a notice of some minor repairs just prior to their termination, and those were all completed, thinking that everything related to the property was finalized, and they left the property in good condition. They had it professionally cleaned. They received not only a letter of retention of security deposit, but also of additional funds due. After that letter, that prompted them to seek legal counsel and to initiate this action. The evidence will show that the items that were being deducted for the security deposit were normal wear and tear items that were not allowed under the Texas Property Code, some of which were already in the property prior to the tenancy. And additionally, some of the items that were demanded were waived because there was no prior request for payment, such as a pet that was at the property for just 24 hours in the backyard. The parties here are military service members. They kept the property in good condition. They had the property professionally cleaned periodically with the service that was recommended by the landlord. And now they feel that the landlord is maliciously intending to withhold the security deposit to cover repairs that were not caused by these tenants.
Okay.
What we're seeking is the statutory treble damages allowed by the Texas Property Code. The amount of security deposit was $2,300. The treble damages would be $6,900 for retention of security deposit. Prior to this hearing today, the total attorney's fees and expenses were $2,870.55. And I can give Your Honor testimony, normal testimony on that. And that's the judgment that the tenants are seeking today for the treble damages, as well as fees and costs for this action.
Okay, Mrs. Delgado or Mr. Jeffrey, you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, sir. Going down with the papers that we were served, we went down number 1 through number 7. And everything that they're stating that was, for example, number 1, garage remote. I went down on everything and showed proof, email, and proof that it was returned improper, broken, or these things were not there, which is shown on our condition, the inventory and condition form that all 3 of them signed and that we signed. It states there that it shows there was no damages to the wall the way they left. It looks like every time I would do an inspection, I had to do constant inspections because there are 3 bachelors and there was a lot of gatherings. And so in the end, the walls look like, I guess when someone gets a bottle and they shake it and then they open it and it just sprays everywhere. So that was everywhere in various walls of the home. And because I did not want to take the deposit, not maliciously at all, I told Mr. Jake Rare, he told me, I'm going to go ahead and be moving out in 30 days. And I said, can you please come here? You guys are going to have to clean this. I told him there's walls and deficiency, stains all over that. You know, I don't know what it is, as if you guys splattered something on there. So I even showed him. After that, I even emailed them, and I have that in the evidence where I emailed them and I told them, these are going to be all of the deficiency on there, and they're going to cause a problem if you guys don't have them fixed. So all of this was explained to them right before they left, 30 days prior to, and they were not taken care of. And so a lot of that also was pest control, what they were showing that is showing a normal issue of landlord. I reached out to, or Mr. Ian reached out to me, and that is on the evidence as well on November 17th. And he said that he had rodents, and that if he can go ahead and call an exterminator. I told him that he could, and I gave him, you know, several numbers, as I did with the cleaning. The cleaning that they had was once a month. The girl would go over, and that was because, you know, it was for their dishes and for countertops and things that they would do. So it was never really a deep cleaning or anything to the extent where it was being used for our benefit. I mean, it was strictly for them. So there was no, like I said, on the lease inventory, there is no damages on there on the wall. There is nothing that is stated here on their allegations. And so that is what I have charged on the deductions from the security, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Zimpers, you want to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I will call Mr. Jake Rieger.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Rieger, I know you and I have never talked before today. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And I know you have a short period of time, and that's why we're asking you to testify first. We have a lot of documentation, but I just want to get a couple points of view on your opinion first. What is it that you have to get back to today?
I'm currently in a school for the military for Special Operations Captain's Career Course. We can only miss only a few hours of classroom time throughout the 5-month experience. And so this was me trying to maximize the amount of time to be here to ensure that, you know, I can get my my opinion across and actually be, you know, present.
Okay. Ms. Delgado mentioned that she said she showed you some wall stain issues. Was that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And did you remedy the portion of any wall stains that she asked you to remedy?
So there was a few walls that were mentioned. There were some that had holes in them because of the TVs that were mounted. And then there were a few with some type of stain, something or another as well. The ones with holes in it, Mr. Oliver and myself, we went out, we identified exactly what paint we need to get, repainted those walls to ensure that, you know, they were to standard. For the ones with stains, I know that we also notified our cleaning lady that we were trying to get those stains off as well. And then a few that were in my specific room of the home, I remedied as well. So everyone was notified of those stains, and we took care of them.
Okay. When you moved into the house, what would you say the condition of the walls were at that time? Had they just been repainted, or did it look like it hadn't been repainted?
It looked like it had not been repainted. You could tell that there was patch painting done throughout the home, that there was dirt and grime on some of the walls as well. And just, yes.
So based on what you could tell, the house did not have a new paint job when you moved in?
Correct.
Okay. And I'll have Mr. Oliver show us some pictures of that as well. there was a mention of a cleaning lady. Did you all have a cleaning person, and what did that person do?
So yes, the cleaning professional was actually recommended to us by the landlord, Miss Delgado. She would come in, believe it was once every other week. It was not just dishes and countertops. She did I wouldn't say a full detailed scrub of the home, but it was a significant cleaning every day, or sorry, every time that she was there.
And
It was wall. Oh, sorry. It was walls. It was some of the walls. It was all of the floors, all the countertops, dusting, mopping, etc.
did you have her come and clean the house after you vacated?
I left the property slightly earlier than everyone else due to the military requiring me to move earlier than expected. From what I recall, we did place an appointment with her, but that I'm not sure of off the top of my head.
Okay, Mr. Oliver would have more information on that.
Yes.
Regarding the pest control, there was a mention that you had notified Ms. Delgado of an issue with rodents in the property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you have a pest control service like Orkin come and do something to the property to remedy that?
That is correct.
Okay. And do you recall when that was done?
I do not recall.
Was it fairly close to before the time you were vacating the property?
Honestly, I am not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. While you were in the property, did you have any issues with the landlord and her showing up at the property?
So I understand within the agreement that we signed that she is authorized to make to conduct inspections of the home. There were some that just seemed unreasonable, not only by the time, but how she came into the home. There was one occasion, there is a courtyard in the middle of the house. While I was home alone, she entered the courtyard and started banging or knocking on one of the doors that was directly outside of my bedroom door. Not how somebody normally enters a property. I myself was a little concerned about it, and it just seemed a non-professional way to enter a home. There were times just past 6, 7 o'clock at night that she would come inspect the home as well.
When she inspected the home, did she always give you notice that she was coming by?
There was,
Or were there times when she did not give you notice and just showed up at the property?
there were times where, say, only one person would have notice. For example, the time in which she entered through the courtyard. Mr. Oliver was the only one that had received notice, and I was the only one actually at the property at the time.
When you left the property, you're saying that it was a little bit earlier than everybody else. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. As far as you knew, when you left the property, all of the repairs that were requested of the landlord, were those completed?
That is correct. Myself, Mr. Oliver, Mr. Payne, we just kind of went through the house. We had that email and we were just kind of going line by line to ensure that all those things were completed prior to me leaving. So that way I had my fair share in taking care of the property.
Okay. Were you surprised when you received the notice that she was retaining your security deposit?
I was very surprised. I understand, you move into a home. There's some things that you miss either when you vacate or whatever it may be, that some of the security deposits taken. I've lived in plenty of different locations at this point. So, I kind of understand that, but losing them paying not only the security deposit, but then the additional fees on top of that was definitely a shock to me.
The items listed on the itemization, which was a garage remote, window screens, recessed lights. Do you have any indication what that 100 or what that $124 pertaining to those items is?
I have no idea what it's actually pertaining to. I know specifically for the garage remote, since I lived on the main floor of the home, directly outside of the garage, I had the garage remote and it only stayed inside of my vehicle on the sun protector. It did not move there from the day that I, moved into the home to the day that I left. There's no damages conducted to it. I'd been using it just about up into the day that I left. And then when I vacated the property, it was, left on the kitchen counter with no problem, still functioning. For the recessed lights and the screen, I have no idea what that may be actually inferring to or what damages that could have occurred to them.
Okay. Mr. Rieger, before you go, is there anything else you'd like to tell the judge?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Delgado or Mr. Jeffrey, do you have any questions of Mr. Rieger?
Yes, I do. He's stating that the garage remote was always in his room and that there was no damage. Do you have that in front of you so you could see it's cracked? And that was given to me that way, Mr. Pearson.
Is that a question?
Yes, sir.
A question, what is the question?
That the remote there in your hands is the evidence of how how that remote was returned. It's with a crack. He's stating that there was no damages and that it was working. It does not work. Obviously, they dropped it.
That's not a question. A question inquires to something and requires a response. Do you have any questions of Mr. Rieger?
Yes. Why is there a crack on the remote? It's clearly like demolished. It's cracked. It's broken.
Mr. Rieger?
I do not have that. I do not have that photo in front of me. And when I had returned it, there was no crack on top of it. It was working fine. It had never left my actual vehicle until the day I had moved out of the home.
Okay, and then on the pest pest control, do you guys have a receipt that you did pest control? Because I have evidence with pictures of the feces that are everywhere in your cabinets, where your food was at, and the shelves and the pantry.
You asked it, just a minute. You've asked if he has a proof of pest control. Let him answer the question.
I do not have that receipt, but I believe that Mr. Oliver does have that receipt.
Okay, and then the damaged walls. Do you have pictures of where you guys took these stains off? Because when you left, I have pictures of that, of how you left it.
The photos were collected by Mr. Oliver and presented. If he has them, if we do have them, he would have them. I do not.
Okay, and then you're stating that prior to receiving the home, on the inventory sheet, it should state that the home was needing the paint. There is nothing on there in the inventory condition that you guys signed that states any of that.
I'll object to that as not really being a question, Your Honor.
What is the question, Mrs. Delgado?
Why they didn't state that when they moved in on their inventory condition form,
State what?
that the home needed paint. They're stating that it was not, they said that it was not ready to be rented.
Okay, was that put on the property condition form?
Yes, sir. It's on the inventory.
I think that's your question, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Let them answer it.
So the apology. So the home did not have a fresh coat of paint. You could identify that, and I mean that is, our negligence, or not negligence. I apologize. That is our fault for not marking that down. But it was just an older coat of paint, and you could tell small things here and there. We had already identified on that sheet plenty of problems already, chips on corners, cracks, etc., which should be on the actual inspection sheet, which then implies that there is a new coat of paint is required.
I'm sorry, there's just no implications here. It's either a statement of fact that something is wrong, or it's
Your
not.
Honor, I don't have a copy of that. If she's presenting some documentation, if we could see that.
What are you referring to, Mrs. Delgado?
The residential lease inventory and condition form.
Okay. Did you present it?
Yes, sir. You have it there with you.
Okay, so the reason that you email these is that you can provide a copy to the other side.
I did, sir. I emailed to the other side on, let me get you the date here. On August the 14th at 7:12 p.m., I had to cut it down to 6 emails because I had pictures from before
Okay.
of the walls. of the
Mr. Zimbrich, do you have that email?
I have 118 photos of emails. I'm not seeing an actual PDF. Was it sent in PDF form?
It was an attachment and it's on the first email with those pictures. Email number 1.
Okay, I don't know if part of the problem is the size of the emails. I've only got 3 emails. You're saying that there were 6 supposed to be sent?
Yes, and that's why I also took evidence to Mr. Garza in person.
Okay, you didn't send us a copy of the documentation though, did you?
Everything that was given to Mr. Garza is in the email sent.
Okay, no, I don't have the inventory inspection. I'd be fine with Ms. Delgado presenting it if she can show it on the screen.
Can you renew the email, Mrs. Delgado? Can you resend it?
Yes, and it's set to Michael Zimbrich and Mr. Garza, so I will resend.
Send it to, let me give you an email to send it to.
I'm sorry, I just sent it. 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
JP1, and that's just the letters JP and then the numeral 1, El Paso County @gmail.com.
Got it.
Okay, Your Honor, I received an email, but it's not coming through with any sort of attachment.
Mrs. Delgado, did you send it to the JP1?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I can show it on the screen. Okay, I got an email. I don't show any attachments either. Oh yeah, there's 2 attachments. Here, let me show you what I got received from you. This is the email, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's what I received as well. I would assume that maybe the attachments are too big to go through an email because of the number of attachments.
There's 2 down here. These two attachments aren't what you're referring to, are they? No.
No.
Are these the attachments that?
No, there's, in the inventory, there's 6 pages only, and it's just a normal document.
This is your email here. I'm on the screen, and I'm showing you everything that,
Okay, let me share my screen so that you can see.
one second. Okay, go ahead.
Are you receiving that?
No, so far there's nothing being shared on the screen.
Okay, I'm clicking on share.
And you got to click on the screen that you're sharing. There you go. This is the residential lease inventory, okay?
Can you see that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just showing chipped paint, peeling paint. That's document number 1. How do I share the whole document?
Just to clarify, Your Honor, Ms. Delgado was showing the notations of the tenant upon move-in. Is that correct? They were saying chip paint, peeling paint?
Yes, sir. It's only showing me the first page. I can zoom. Can you guys see this?
You can see some photos. I can see some photos.
Okay. Okay, so this is all before. I'm sorry, this is all after of what they left, Your Honor.
Okay, right now you're asking Mr. Rieger questions. Is there something that you want to show him to ask him questions about?
Sure. So I'm talking about things like this, Mr. Rieger, why they were there. Do you see the ceiling there?
I'm on my phone right now. I can kind of see it.
Okay, that is everywhere. I showed you this
Still there.
30 days before. Do you see that?
They go stand.
Yes,
There was knuckles
I'm
on
trying
the wall where you guys
Punch
punched
the wall.
the walls. I didn't even charge for that. But stains like this where you were sleeping, that is like grease or
Sharon, I'm gonna object to it's that she's not questioning, I'm objecting to the form of the question, she's presenting her case.
Yep, Mrs. Delgado, there's an order that we do the small claims cases in. Mr. Zimprich is presenting his case. You have an opportunity to ask Mr. Rieger questions. This isn't-
yes, Mr. Rieger. My question is, you stated that you painted. What is this?
I am not sure. The two walls that I said we specifically painted were the two that had the TVs mounted on them, and we repainted the entire wall to ensure that there was no patch job. For that photo specifically, I'm not even sure what room that is in.
Yours. That's why I'm asking you, because it was where you were at.
That's I believe that's a hardwood floor. I was actually in the main bedroom downstairs.
Right. That's the picture I'm showing here of the wall.
I'm not sure what that is. I do not know.
This is also the room where you were at. So if you painted, what is this, please? Is my question.
I'm gonna object as asked and answered as far as the painted. Mr. Rieger already stated that they painted the walls where they hung TVs.
Well, I'm going to allow the question. I mean, she's asking about a specific wall.
So that might, again, I apologize. I'm working on a phone, so I'm trying to like zoom in here. Those walls specifically, that just might be the paint coat not blending correctly. I'm not sure. I do not know.
Is that the bedroom? Is that the correct bedroom?
That is.
I believe so.
Okay.
Sorry. So there's, let's see here. And that wall as well.
Yes, that's the one you showed me earlier, ma'am.
Okay, so those are the two walls that were left that way. And that's just in your room. There's also this. This I did show you, Mr. Rare. I showed you prior to moving out. I told you if you guys leave this, there's going to be issues. And this was throughout the whole house.
What is it? What are you referring to?
This picture with liquid stains all over. I don't know what it is. I asked him.
What was the question?
What these liquid stains that were left behind, if you painted, what is that?
We did not paint that wall. Again, we had just painted the ones with the TVs on them. That's what I was inferring to.
Okay, and then you stated you painted other walls. This is upstairs as well. Do you know what these are? Because these were left this way as well.
Again, we did not paint those walls upstairs. There were no TVs mounted on them. I'm trying to see a stain. I do not know what it is.
Okay. The doors were all left in this manner as well. Did you guys paint the doors?
No.
Okay. How about here, this area? This is the area that I showed you as well when we were together 30 days prior to you leaving. I told you there's like liquid or something all over the walls here. Did you guys paint that?
We did not paint those walls, no.
Okay,
When was the house last painted?
prior to them to move in, they painted it. I have pictures of before. That I
Prior, 5 years before, day before? When was,
Before they moved in?
okay, before is long, could be 10 years, 20 years. What is before?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, are you asking me when it was painted prior to the tenants moving in?
Yes,
I would say about 30 to 40 days prior to them moving in.
okay.
So these are the conditions that we had it, and it's normal, I guess, if you have a lot of gatherings to not know who's, stuff like this is left behind, but this is specifically why I pulled them
Your Honor,
over.
I'm gonna object again. She's trying to present her case.
Okay, Mr. Delgado, stick to what we're here right now is just asking Mr. Rieger.
Okay,
Sorry, questions.
yes, Your Honor. Let's see here. And then the dog, we also had a pet that was there for over 30 days. I saw it on the inspection prior to me giving you the notice. And why is it that you're stating you only had it there 24 days? I have pictures and feces and boxes outside,
Right upstairs in his room.
and there was urine all over the floors. What was all that if it was only there for 24 hours?
Ma'am, I don't know necessarily what you are talking about it. Being there for more than 30 days. Our friend was kind of in the middle of I think it was a move, and just asked us to watch their dog for 24 hours. That's as long as the dog was there.
Okay, well, the lease states there's no dogs, not even babysitting.
Mhm.
I think you signed that on
Yes.
the lease. And that's on the lease on page, do you remember that?
Yes, I remember signing that.
Okay, because it states there on page 9, pets, it says that if you violate that I would charge $350 and that we would charge $50 per day plus any extermination for deodorizing and for cleaning. Do you remember signing that?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the charge for the pet?
$350.
I'm looking on the, it's like it says 400.
Yes, and another $350 for, I'm sorry, the lease states $350 and $50 per day. It was there over 30 days. We just charge $50 for one day and $350 for having the pet.
So the charge is 400?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then $350 for the interior of the home being clean from the smell that was left behind.
Okay. Go ahead with your questions.
Okay. And then this here, do you know what this is? It looks like there's feet mark on the walls, or?
Your Honor, I don't want to cut Ms. Delgado off. Mr. Rieger only has an hour from his service to be out. If she's going to go through each of the individual photos, I would ask that she ask Mr. Oliver. He has more time available. And again, I don't want to cut her case short. But I think she's really presenting her case in chief through the cross-examination, and Mr. Rieger does need to get back to his class.
Mr. Delgado, do you have any objection to going through your photos with Mr. Oliver?
I do, because he wasn't there. When I went 30 days prior to them moving out, he was not even living there.
Okay, well, you still deducted it from his deposit, did you not? I mean, it's everybody's deposit.
Correct. It's everyone's deposit.
Okay, let's move on. You can ask Mr. Oliver. And I do want to, I did find in their packet, the a garage door opener. And I don't know if you can see it, but your objection to this is the back? Is that what it is?
It's got a crack and it comes apart. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. When you press the button, it doesn't work?
It does not work. And it comes apart.
Okay.
That's how I was given it.
On the screen, I guess she's referring to this bracket. Is that
And yes, and it's cracked. It's cracked in the back. It just, like it was dropped.
cracked? It's cracked where this fits on, yes. I don't see any other crack.
Your Honor. You do have to take it apart and to put a new battery in.
Okay, what about it? Is she saying it's not working? What is not working about it?
It doesn't work at all. I had to get another one. So we got another one. That unit does not work and it was given to them working. And that was
Was the
part of,
battery replaced?
Yes.
You replaced the battery?
I'm sorry?
You replaced the battery?
I did replace the battery. When we had it, we tested it with a new battery and turned it on and it would not work.
Okay. Gregor, you want to respond?
Your Honor, the crack, I'm not sure if that's what she's referring to. Again, I'm working on a phone, so it's kind of difficult. If it's the actual component separating, that is so that you can replace the battery, which I had to do on a few occasions. It's an older model from what I could assume. The battery sometimes, if it like jiggles around inside of the actual unit, it might not press the first time. And that's kind of an issue that I saw with it. Nothing mechanically or electronically wrong with it. Sometimes the battery would kind of get loose in there.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Next questions.
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So do you see all of, Mr. Rayer, do you see all of this? This was taken 30 days at the inspection before with the pet, where you guys are stating you had it for 24 hours. Why was this? Why was the pet there before? If you're stating it was only there for 24 hours.
I'm sorry, my connection cut out. Was that a question for me?
Yes, I'm asking 30 days prior to you moving out, 60 days, sorry. 60 days prior to you guys moving out. Let me look at the email that I sent you. I sent you every time I emailed everyone. I never emailed just one person. But my question is, with the pet, when you guys got the notice, why was the dog there 30 days prior to that in those pictures?
Again, my connection cut out. I didn't see necessarily any pictures of a dog being there in any of the emails as well. Like physical photos of the dog. The dog was there for 24 hours. So I'm not sure. I don't necessarily know what photos are being looked at right now.
Okay, because on number 7, you're saying that plaintiff has no pet in violation of the pet policy. So you guys are stating you did have a pet? No.
John, I just want to make sure we're looking at the amended pleadings.
Okay, what are you referring to, Mrs. Delgado?
Number 7 on the papers that were served to us, they're stating that they didn't have a pet.
Okay, Mr. Zimbrich, what is number 7? What?
Let me just bring up the amended petition because I
Says
think,
number 7 is pet violation.
I don't have numbers. I don't have an amended one.
okay, so the amended petition revised that Our allegation is that the defendant waived any right to collect any fees for any pet violation under the terms of the contract, and we will present evidence to that effect. So it's our position that there was a pet violation. We will give testimony, as we did, that the pet was there for 24 hours. They were given notice and the pet was immediately removed.
Okay, am I still sharing screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so these are also Mr. Rear. I had asked Ian and yourself to not be smoking because they had been told this prior to or on one occasion. They broke the contract about 4 times, I believe. But I still found smoking in the home, and that is part of the janitorial fee. So my question is, you know, were you guys still smoking in there? Because there was evidence of stuff left behind, and the home had an odor.
I don't know first of all, I do not know what that is in that photo. But second, if there's a implication here of, you know, an illegal substance. I'm in the United States military and I don't utilize any type of drug like that. So no, there was no smoking in the home, and I don't know what that is either.
Okay, that was found at your move out. But you're stating that you had the home cleaned as well. Do you know, or can you explain to me what this is? Because this is how the home was, and this is what was having.
Again, Your Honor, I don't want to cut Ms. Delgado off on her case, you know, her presentation. She has 114 photos, and it could be.
Okay, Ms. Delgado, again, you can run through these photos with Mr. Oliver, can you not?
Yes, Your Honor, that's what I'm doing, and I'm asking him a question, Mr. Rieger, I'm sorry. Only because, like I said, Mr. Oliver was not there 30 days prior to move out.
What is the significance of 30 days prior?
He left, he moved out.
What is the significance of 30 days prior? Why does somebody need to be there 30 days prior?
To see this, when I'm going through the inspection and telling you, hey, this needs to be clean, this needs to be clean. I told them,
All tenants would be responsible for that.
and I told them in an email.
Okay. All tenants would be responsible for that, correct?
Well, because one's gonna say he doesn't know, and the other's gonna say he, wasn't there.
Your Honor, Mr. Oliver, he had moved out of the home, but he was living like maybe 5 minutes away. And so he was a part of us cleaning as we left.
The issue is not what the condition of the property was 30 days prior. The issue is what the condition of the property was when they moved out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the significance of being there 30 days prior?
Him not being there 30 days, he didn't see any of this. And so when he returned the home, we didn't go over these things. But I
Okay,
did email everyone.
okay, and you can go through, let's move on.
Okay, so if you guys did clean,
You're asking Mr. Rieger, not the guys.
yes, Mr. Rieger, if you guys did clean and you had somebody going every week, why is this way?
Is this 30 days prior?
No, this is at move out.
Okay.
These are all photos of move out.
All the ones you've been showing?
Yes, everything's at move out.
Okay,
So
it was 30 days prior.
No, all this is move out pictures. I don't have anything prior to when they left. This is just all move out. This is evidence of how they left the home because they're
Okay.
stating that they left it clean.
Your Honor, if Mr. Oliver states that he saw the house when everybody vacated, I mean, he has firsthand knowledge. Can we go through these
Yes.
with Mr.
Yeah, Mrs. Delgado, you can go through them with Mr. Oliver. Let's move on.
Okay. So, Mr. Oliver, You guys
No,
stated that,
no, Mr. Oliver hasn't been called as a witness yet. Do you have any other questions of Mr. Reiger?
oh, Mr. Rager, yes. So if you guys cleaned also, do you see the
Other
floor?
than each picture, Mrs. Delgado, we're going to go through the pictures with Mr. Oliver. Do you have any other questions of Mr. Reiger?
Not at the moment. I mean, if he needs to go, then, you know, I'm under pressure to think of what I have to think and I can't.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Simperch, your next witness?
If I could just have a quick rebuttal with Mr. Rieger.
Yes, sir.
Very quick if you're wanting him to go.
Yes, just if Miss Delgado could show that inspection report that she showed us the first page.
Your Honor, you have this in your possession.
Okay, if you could just move down a little bit so we could see the comments. So again, Mr. Rieger and what Ms. Delgado is saying is she cannot show us pages 5 through 6. She can only show us the first page. Just on that first page, we can see there the garage and the entry. You're noting chipped paint, paint stairs, paint peeling or peeling paint. Ms. Delgado's testimony is that the house was painted just prior to your move-in. If we could see the rest of the pages, would we note more need for painting of the property?
No,
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so, but from what you remember in April of 2019, and we'll show some pictures through Mr. Oliver later, the house was in need of, would you say complete repainting on the interior?
Yes.
Okay, and then real quickly, I'm going to show my screen in one of the exhibits. Ms. Delgado, if you could just
I'm
capture
sorry.
this.
Mr. Delgado, if you can stop the share so that Mr. Simperch can share.
sure.
Thank you.
Mm. Anyway.
Okay, Mr. Simperch, I think you can.
Okay, Mr. Rieger, the court was given an exhibit I, and I believe you created these pages, is that correct? Mr. Rieger, I think you're on mute.
Apologies. Yes, that is correct. I made that.
And can you tell me what this exhibit is?
So what it briefly shows is what's called the metadata of a photo. The metadata shows exactly when a photo is taken, based on, like, you know, whether it's in a photo or on an SD card. And you can pull that for any of the photos that were presented. Now, some of the photos, there's briefly a few in that exhibit that were taken either while we were still tenants inside of the home or after we had the premises by, like, I believe it was more than 30 days. I was not able to scrub through all the photos due to the fact that if a photo has been what you would call like a screenshot on a computer, it loses that metadata. And a lot of the photos had lost that metadata. But I was able to pull it, showing that some of these photos are not truthful to when they said they were taken.
Okay, so based on this one right here, this was the original document that was submitted to the court, and the metadata essentially shows that was taken October 22nd, 2020. That was about 6 months prior to you leaving the property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And some of the other photos here, June 18, 2021, those indicate that file was created on that date, and that was a few months after you left the property?
That's correct.
Okay. And it's your testimony that there was no dog at this property under oath, other than for a 24-hour period that you were watching a dog for a friend of yours. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rieger.
Who submitted the photos?
I did, Your Honor. I took them all, except for that one. I took them all 30 days after they moved out. So about 2 weeks after they moved out, because they moved out at the last day of May. So these were all taken in June.
So, I'm sorry,
So these were all taken in June, 2 weeks in June.
except for this one.
Correct.
So, and this one was taken when? Anybody?
They're in October of 2020.
We didn't, like Mr. Rieger said, he didn't go through all of the photos and he couldn't do this with all of the photos. This is just a small sampling of what he could do.
What did the other photos show other than this one?
The other samplings, June 18th.
When was the move out?
Last day of May.
Okay. They're all-
April 30th. April 30th was our last day.
What the other photos show? What date? They show June 18th?
June 18th, Your Honor, which a month and a half after the move out.
Is that when they were all taken, Mrs. Delgado?
I found some 2 weeks after, and then we did an inspection again, 30 days again. We kept finding things. You don't find things, of course, all on that first inspection, so.
Ms. Delgado, you're the presenter of the photographs. When were the photographs taken?
They were all taken approximately, they were all taken 2 weeks after their move out.
Then why does the photo show a month and a half after?
Because that was probably sent incorrect. And that is the way it looks like now, though. But if we can just take that one off, that's not part of it.
How many photos here show a different date?
We don't know for sure, Your Honor. We just did a sampling of some of them.
These are two of them?
This is one, two, three, four, and I think there were a few additional from Mr. Rieger. If Mr. Rieger, he can testify how many he actually looked at.
Mr. Rieger?
Sir, like I said before, some of the files of the photos, you could not pull metadata from, but it would not show any date whatsoever. From the ones I pulled, I believe I went through 2 of the emails to just kind of show an example. And whichever ones that I actually identified were not close to move out were put specifically in that PDF.
Okay. And so how many photos is that? I'm trying to look for your exhibit, but I don't see it. How many photos are out of date that you that you checked into?
I just see one.
Mr. Rieger?
Sir, I do not know. I don't have the document. Again, I'm working off a phone. So I apologize. But that Exhibit A would have all the ones that I identified. So,
Your Honor, just in the exhibit, there's 5. One of them was taken prior to move out, and 4 of them were taken a month and a half after move out. And as Mr. Rieger stated, he only checked a couple of the emails. He didn't go through all of the evidence.
Okay. Okay, let's move on.
I think that was it, Mr. Rieger, just to show
Yes,
in some.
Okay, Mrs. Delgado, do you have any final questions for Mr. Rieger?
No, I don't.
Okay, Mr. Zimpercher, you call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. And may Mr. Rieger be excused?
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
thank you, Your
I will call Mr. Ian Oliver.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, and I think everybody was sworn in at the beginning.
Yes, they were.
Mr. Oliver, can you tell the judge, basically, how are you involved in this property and how did you get with this property?
Yes, sir. So I moved to El Paso in October of 2018, stationed here at Fort Bliss, active duty military. I lived in an apartment for a few months when I first moved here, and then I was deployed in the beginning of 2019 with Jake Rieger and Jacob Payne. While we were deployed, we decided we wanted to live together. When we got back to El Paso, did some house hunting, and found a rental property here at 1668 Balco Way. And then we started renting in April of 2019. And then, of course, we lived there for 2 years, and I've been stationed here ever since. And just recently, I'm now in the reserves, but that's sort of what brings me here and how we came to rent that property.
Mr. Oliver, have you ever had any issues with the security deposit and any other places that you rented?
Yes, sir. I rented multiple apartments through college, after college, when I was moving around in the military prior to moving to, El Paso, never had a security deposit withheld from me.
And can you tell me, we've already established that you rented from April of 2019 to April of 2021. About 2 years. Did you have any issues during that period with the landlord?
So, I'd say the first year of living there was pretty easygoing, no real issues. We didn't see much of Miss Delgado around the property, but that second year that we lived there, her presence was much more notable. She was there, sometimes multiple times a month. There were multiple occasions where I was woken up on my couch.
I want to get this to move a little faster. And so, Mr. Zemprich, this is a case about the security deposit. Can we just address the condition at the end of the lease, how it was left and what the charges are for? And
Sure.
Property at the end.
Okay, let's start with the overall condition at move-in. Do you recall who filled out the move-in inspection?
I want to say it was me and Rieger, Jake Rieger were there.
We noted that your entries on there were pretty short, just paint peeling and issues. I mean,
yeah, I moved into a lot of different places, old houses. I lived in old houses, and the house, yeah, it needed paint, but we noted that on most of the walls had holes in them from pictures that were hung, or paint was chipped away. But we noted that stuff, but it's not like that. That you have that in older houses and houses, especially rental properties. So, we noted it, but didn't really think much of it.
okay, so I'm showing on the screen what's been marked as Exhibit B, Plaintiff's Exhibit B. Can you tell me when this picture was taken?
Yeah, so these pictures were taken in our move-in inspection. So prior to moving into the property, we went around the house, filling out that move-in inspection sheet, and then I took pictures of the property, of these different areas of like minor cosmetic damage.
Okay, you heard testimony from Miss Delgado that this property was painted right before you moved in. Do you believe that this property was painted right before you moved in?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so this is one picture here of a pretty chip damaged corner, and this was before you moved into the property?
This is before we moved in, yes, sir.
Okay, this second picture here, again, we note multiple chips and damage to the wall, is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, do you know what this picture here is showing?
I mean, this is just poor craftsmanship. It's just showing that, the house needed some help.
Okay, is this another wall here?
Yeah, that's correct. It's like a bathroom wall, I believe.
Okay, so in the bathroom, we can see there's numerous spots where you can see white through the wall. We can see what appears to be caulking on the walls, chips and peeling on the paint.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are these holes in the wall here?
Yes, sir.
and another hole at the bottom. So it looked like something was possibly hung here and it hadn't been repaired.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. This looks like it's possibly near a ceiling, or do you know what location of the property this is?
You know, well over 2 years ago, I couldn't recall the exact location of the home. It's just, you know, showing a wall where there's paint that's been chipped off and there's looks like there may be some holes in the wall.
Okay, is this just showing some nicks and damage to some of the cabinetry?
Yeah, I mean, just showing that that's not a original face to a cabinet there. That's a repair. Someone put on one after and didn't use the same type of wood or finish.
Okay, so you're saying this one here looks like it was repaired.
Yeah, I assumed the previous face cabinet was damaged and they had to replace it, but it was replaced with a different kind of wood and finish.
And this was another area where there was missing paint.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is another wall, and it looks like we can actually see streaks through the paint as well as holes. Is this maybe possibly above a window or sliding glass door?
Yeah, it's above a window, I think in the living room. Just, that's where those curtain rods someone had hung in the property prior to us moving in.
Those streaks are not there. That must be the picture because the shadow.
Ms. Delgado, don't interrupt, please.
Oh,
Okay. Mr. Oliver, again, this is another shot of another wall and what appears to be missing paint. And those look like maybe anchors in the wall that were not taken out and fixed and repainted.
Yes, sir.
Would you say that you encompassed every single repair, or these are just a sampling of the damage to the property that you saw were more prevalent?
Yeah, this would be just a sample of it. This is our initial move-in, and like I said, I lived in a lot of different places, and I tried to capture some of the bigger stuff and stuff that jumped out at me on the walls. But if I had known we were going to get, and when you move into a property that has holes and chips and paint like that, it's sort of assumed that, all right, this is how the property's typically kept.
Okay, so again, I don't want to spend an hour going through all the photos, Your Honor. You have pictures of all the interior damage of the sampling. Our final analysis is the house needed painting when they moved in, Your Honor, and I'll go ahead and move on just so we don't take up too much time with that.
Okay. And all the pictures attached were taken before move-in or at move-in?
Yes, Your Honor. All of these were taken prior to move-in.
Okay, go ahead.
That one looks like it's one of the more one of the worst ones. Is that one of the interior walls?
Yes, it is.
Where is that?
It's in the you call it like a bonus room, or it's a separate room. It's got its own bathroom, but it doesn't really have a door to close it off from the main living space.
Okay.
So Mr. Oliver, we're looking at what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit C, which appears to be an email to the three, actually just Mr. Rieger and Mr. Payne. But you're familiar with this email, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is November of 2019, so you'd been there about 6 months. What was Miss Delgado advising in this email?
Yeah, so the property manager didn't want any water spots to be on the glass doors, the shower doors. So she offered to provide a cleaning service that would clean this for us, and so that we didn't have to deal with it. And that's ultimately what we did. And we maintained that cleaning service from here on out, through the end of our tenancy there.
Okay, what Mr. Rieger testified, he said about bi-monthly or bi-weekly, and the cleaning service would clean floors, walls. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, cleaning service, bi-weekly would clean floors, walls, the glass windows, or the glass doors, the shower doors, bathrooms, toilets, all that.
Okay, and do you know if the property was cleaned after you vacated and to get it ready to turn over to the landlord?
So we turned our keys over to Ms. Delgado and no longer had access to the property after vacating. The property was clean prior to us turning our keys over to Ms. Delgado, just prior.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit D, which is an email from Ms. Delgado that there was a pet at the property. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That was Friday, October 23rd, 2020. So this is, you left at the end of April. So this would be about 6 months prior to you vacating the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you tell me about the pet at the property?
Yeah, so we had a friend who also this military service member. He was moving across town in El Paso here, and just asked that we look after their dog for 24 hours. So we put the dog in the backyard for 24 hours.
Okay, and when you were notified that you had a pet at the property and she asked you to remove it, it says the pet must be removed. Did she ever ask for a fee or any damages or anything at that point?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to go to Exhibit A, page 3, paragraph B, regarding the landlord's remedies about the pet. Um, 9B. So, Mr. Oliver, your understanding of the pet agreement is that the landlord may take the following actions. Is that what's in your agreement?
That's correct.
Okay. One of those is to declare the lease in default. One of those is to charge a fee. And one of those is to remove or cause to be removed the pet. Based on what the landlord requested, was it your understanding that at that time she just wanted the pet out of the property?
That's correct.
And at that time, did you remove the pet for the property?
Yes, sir.
And again, did she ask you a fee October, November, December? Any of those times did she ask for a fee?
No, sir.
When was the first time that you ever heard that she was charging you a fee?
When we received the itemization of the security deposit 30 days after we moved out.
Okay. And if we look at the special provisions of the lease, paragraph 12. Oh. If we look at the special provisions in your contract with the tenant, it specifically states that any fee owed will be paid before rent is due. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but the landlord accepted the November rent after the notice of the pet violation?
That's correct.
And it wasn't until approximately 6 months after the pet violation that she ever asked for any fee?
That's correct.
Okay, if we look at Exhibit E, can you tell me about what this is showing and what the landlord is advising?
Yeah, so that's my my girlfriend's car at the time. Was parked on the stamped concrete out front. Ms. Delgado is advising us that we not park on the concrete. But the stamped concrete, sorry.
And when you were advised, did you remove the vehicle?
Yeah, the vehicle was moved.
Well, there was a talk about a pest control, and Ms. Delgado had previously asked if you had a receipt for that. Is that what's shown in Exhibit F of the documentation?
That's correct.
Okay. So just at the end of November, which would be about 5 months prior to vacating the property, you had Orkin come and do a pest treatment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. After this treatment, did you have any issues with any pests?
We did not.
But yet you see Ms. Delgado additionally had a pest treatment and is charging you for that pest treatment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Plaintiff's Exhibit G. This is another email from Ms. Delgado. My assumption is this is one of her monthly inspections of the property. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is March 26th, which was approximately 30 days prior to your vacating the property. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and she notes a few minor issues. The air conditioner filters need to be cleaned. Did you clean the air conditioner filters?
Yes, sir.
A little bit of debris on the exterior of the property.
Yeah, we remedied all that, took it, all that trash was thrown away. We're taking off the property.
So she states Christmas tree, wreath, blanket, a little bit of trash, weeds, filters. And I guess the walls being dirty and then the stove cleaned. Did you have the stove cleaned?
Yes, yeah, our cleaning service cleaned the inside of that stove or oven, I guess you would call it.
So barring repainting the entire interior, is it your testimony that you essentially completed all the repairs that she required in that inspection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our Exhibit H, Mr. Oliver, is that the letter that you received regarding the retention of security deposit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we already talked about the Craftsman garage remote, window screen, and recessed lights. Do you have any indication that there was any damage that would have cost $124.17 on those items?
No, sir. I have no idea.
Okay. We talked about the rodent control, pest control. You stated that you had the house treated about 4 months prior to vacating the property. You had no issues with rodent pests upon your leaving the property?
Yes, sir.
No issues, meaning yes, that's
No
correct.
issues, yeah, no issues.
Okay, and Mr. Jake, he stated that you left a little bit before everybody else. Could you tell us when you left, did you go back to the property? Did you assist them with finalizing everything?
Yes, sir. So I was still living there. I was starting to move into another property. I had overlapping leases because I already knew I was going to be moving into a different rental property. So I was still living there effectively. My belongings were still there. I still slept there up until, we turned the keys over to Miss Delgado. So I'm still located here in El Paso.
Okay. Sealing the front concrete, I'm assuming that's the stamped concrete. That stamped concrete is exposed to the sun on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember when you moved in? Was it nice and bright and shiny? Had it been sealed prior to you moving into the property?
No, I wouldn't. Certainly wasn't brand new when we moved in.
Okay. And I know you're not an expert in concrete seal and wear, but you were there for over 2 years, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Paint, there's $4,000, which looks essentially like painting the entire interior of the house. Again, would it be your testimony that the house really needed to be painted prior to moving into the property?
Yes, sir.
The items noted upon vacating the property, for the most part, would you say that a lot of that is normal wear and tear over 2 years of living in the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We talked about the pet violation, and again, this is the first time that you were ever noticed that there was going to be a fee for the pet being at the property. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, the garage sensors of $145, do you know what that pertains to?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is several months before we moved out. I think it was actually around the holidays. I want to say around the Christmas time. We were notified by Miss Delgado during one of our inspections while I believe we were all home. We had gone home to our families for the holidays, and so no one was at the house. During her inspection, she identified that the garage sensors were not working properly, notified us that they weren't working and that she was going to have a contractor come and fix them. So we said, okay. And then, so they came and fixed them. And then, a few days later, we get a bill or an invoice saying, hey, you owe the money to fix the garage door sensors. And, I responded, I was like, I'm sorry, this seems like a normal homeowner's expense. We didn't do anything to break them. They seem to stop working. It's something that you repair as a homeowner. That's why I pay rent. And then her response was that the garage door sensors failed because of sun exposure, and that the reason they had gotten so much sun exposure is because she said, I noticed you guys use your garage as a gym and will leave the garage door up while you're working out. And that extended sun exposure while you're working out is what caused them to break. Well, show me that sun data, show me where I can't use my garage as a gym, that's simply what it was. And so we didn't pay it then, and then now it's being tacked on to our security deposit.
The interior janitorial service, again, you stated that the property was cleaned by this company that she recommended prior to your vacating the property.
That's correct.
Ms. Delgado has shown us a picture of a plastic bag with something inside of it. We can't really tell. I'm sure she's going to ask you about it. Do you know what that is, why it would be there? And can you tell me a little bit about that?
I have no idea what that substance is, why it was brought into our house, by whom, I don't know. From the photos, it looks like it could have just been walked in there and a picture taken of it, or on anyone's countertop. I don't know what it is, but if there's some sort of accusation that we would, one, possess illegal drugs or, utilize illegal drugs, that's on the verge of slander. We're United States military service members. That would we'd be charged under the Uniform Code of Military Justice if we were found to be doing something like that. So that we take that very seriously. And, I don't know what that is.
Okay, Mr. Oliver, is there anything further that you'd like to let Judge Pearson know before I let Ms. Delgado question you?
No, sir. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Delgado or Mr. Jeffries?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Oliver?
Yes, well, I want to know why I had to email you guys more than 5 times about parking in the front when you initialed on the lease itself that no one would park in the front. One, that concrete is not made for, the stamped concrete is not made for parking. There was parking all the way to the back of the home. So that would enough suffice about 10 cars if you wanted to. So I had to keep telling you not to park in the front.
Ask the question and let him answer the question.
That's my question. Why I had to send that email to you?
So that extended parking wasn't developed on the property till much later on that we lived there. And the reason people would park on that stamped concrete is because it looks like a driveway and it's concrete, and people would mistake it for being a driveway and park on it.
Okay, but my question is, did you not initial on the lease that you would not park on there, all 3 of you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this was prior to you moving in, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then did you not also, on a separate document, also the landlord rules that you would not park there as well?
On a separate document.
Yes, it says addendum, and it says
You already have it.
landlord rules.
I remember.
I don't recall a separate document from the lease agreement that we signed.
Okay, there were the landlord rules, and I also have your initial stating you would not park
Okay,
on.
if you'd like to show it, you're welcome to share it and then ask him about it. So he knows what you're talking about.
Okay, you have it, Your Honor, because you have all the evidence.
I'm not presenting your case.
Right, but I gave Mr. Garza, because I couldn't upload all this document, I gave it to him in that envelope.
Okay, do you not have it?
I don't have it, you have it.
Okay, well, again, when you present to the court,
That's
you're
okay,
just
Your
giving
Honor.
it to the
It's on
court.
That's okay, it's on the lease.
That's what I'm saying. You already have it released.
It's on the lease. And then also have a question on the pet. You stated that it says here that, where is it? Where's the pet? On the pet number 9, on B, you stated that I do one of them. No, it says here that if the tenant violates on the agreement of the pet property, the landlord may take all or any of the following. So that is why we took all of the following.
Is that a question?
I'm sorry, yeah, that's why. Because you were stating that we only told you we would take one.
Your Honor, I'll object as to form as well as mischaracterization.
Just ask a question. What is the question?
The question is, are you stating that we told you we would only take one remedy?
You never told me anything regarding any sort of remedy.
Right, the lease does. So that's why I'm asking you if you were told different.
Are you asking me to read the lease?
No, I'm asking you if you were told different in writing somewhere that we would just take one remedy.
I was not told different than Your Honor, I don't understand what they're trying to ask.
What is the question, Ms. Delgado?
On number 9, for pets, they're stating that we would only take one.
What is the question? I'm not asking what it says. I'm just asking, what is the question?
My question is, if he was under the understanding by writing somewhere, did we tell him we would only take one remedy?
In writing somewhere, they state that they'd only take one remedy.
I don't know. I can read. I don't know what we're trying to,
Is there a separate writing where they said they would take only one remedy?
no, there's nothing, there's no separate document. No.
Okay, your next question.
If you guys had somebody go out there for the rodents, in the pictures that I have posted on the in the email, why are all those feces in the pantry and the shelves and in your cabinet? If you did this 6 months prior to you moving.
Should do it again.
So as Jake Rieger previously, said in his testimony, your pictures, this could have been taken 2 months after we moved out, and now there's feces there because the house has not been lived in. So I can't speak to as why there's rodent. You have pictures of rodent feces, because I don't know when those were taken.
They were taken at your move out.
You can say that, but that's not what the data says.
Okay. Well, I wasn't given your pictures either. I don't know if you guys took those pictures while you were living there.
Mrs. Delgado, just stick to the questions that you're asking him. It's not a time to present your case.
Okay. That is all.
Okay, Mr. Zimprich, anything further?
Nothing further, Mr. Oliver.
Okay, you have any other witness?
Just the testimony on attorney's fees, but I don't know if we're
Okay.
gonna take that at the end or how you want to handle that.
I'm going to go ahead and hear from Ms. Delgado, then allow you to testify as the attorney's fees. Go ahead, Ms. Delgado or Mr. Jeffries.
I'm sorry, you cut off.
Now is the time to present your case.
Okay, and so what can we present? Do we just go over the exhibits?
It's your case. I don't tell you what to present.
Okay, so the way that we went over the charges were as follows. The garage remote was not working. The window screen, I have pictures there, that the window screen upstairs, the tenant that was living there is not even here in this court today. The window screen was removed, and when those metal frames are bent, you cannot put the window screen back in there. So that's what that was. Recess lights, I emailed them about this. There was a new box of recess lights left in the pantry for them to replace those recess lights, and that was not done so. And I emailed them about the lights. The rodent control, in the pictures, I show all of the feces that were left, like I said. So we had to do rodent control ourselves because there was feces everywhere. So, and that was 291. The seal pressure wash and the concrete in the front, numerous times that I had to tell them to not park in the front. One of the emails there states, that I don't understand why they keep parking in the front if I keep telling them not to, even with written emails. So that is what had to, and that's very expensive, $866. So if we would have, the paint that we're trying to recover for the whole house on the inside, the home's a very large home. It's a 2,800 square foot home. If we would have gotten it back with pinholes and the caulking that was smeared with, any of that, of the pictures that they showed, we would not be here. That's not the question. We are in question of why there was so much liquid damage and grease on the walls, or I don't know what that is. It's just all over the walls. That's not the way it was given it to them. So that was $4,059. The lease and the pet violation, well, there was a dog there for 30 days, but we're just charging for the pet. The garage sensors, all we know is we give them the garage sensors working. They do not work anymore, so we had them replaced. And anything that would break, that they would break, one time there was a toilet seat that they broke and they
Wear
cracked.
and tear.
He would say it was wear and tear. Everything was wear and tear for him. And he would say, oh, it had a crack. It developed over time, insinuating that it was wear and tear. But that's just an example of what he would do. So when I tried to tell him about the garage sensors, he got very confrontational with me. We were on the phone. He started yelling at me, threatening me. You're going to hear from my lawyers if I get anything from you. I better not hear anything. I better not hear this and that. So I did not want to have any confrontation with him. And that's the reason why I didn't try to get that from him till he moved out. The janitorial services, there was pet urine upstairs on the wood. And that's very intensive trying to get it out. The odor itself, I have a documentation from a witness that went right away when they moved out. And I have that with you, Mr. Pearson. And that states as well. I had a stench and then all the stains all over the home. And that's for the paint. So all of that came out to $3,936.
And that was documented.
Okay, anything else?
I want to call Mr. Wolfgang.
Okay, do you have anything else you want to present?
Yes, also, I had a really hard time with these tenants. I've rented this home many times before, and I've never had this many issues where I have to physically do a monthly inspection because if it wasn't them violating the contract, it was them demolishing the stove, and then they would leave it there for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I had to cause attention to it. Because if they leave it that way, when they move out, eventually those cannot come off. And I would tell them it's like a material cosmetic deficiency. The cleaning lady will not be able to take it out, and then the owner's left with, deficiencies. And that's the reason why I had to do so many monthly inspections. But they violated the lease at least 4 times. Smoking, I had to tell them to not be smoking in the home. That paper that I found, I don't know what it is, but it was there when they moved out upon us inspecting the home. So that's why my question to them was just, would you guys continuing still to smoke? Because it seems like anytime I would tell them not to do something, it would still get done. As far as them cleaning or maintaining the home, like the filters, they never did those at all. I had to go over every month, which I didn't mind. I would just go over and do them myself so that we wouldn't have problems.
Ms. Delgado, these are things during the term of the lease. All we're here for is the condition of the home at the time of move out. So let's just stick to what the case is about, please.
Okay. And so those are my pictures. If you guys can please look at the pictures of move out. There were some that I still found maybe a month later.
The pictures that you're referring to, you need to present whatever you want to present.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Is that sharing it?
Appears to be, yes.
So this is how they left windows, glasses, sinks. I don't know if you can see, Your Honor.
I can see. Just describe what we're looking at so we know what you're.
The sinks were left like this, with white dirt, or I don't know what that is inside.
You say the sinks. Do you have photos of other sinks or just that sink?
This is the sink upstairs.
Okay, you said, if you're gonna refer to plural,
That sink, sir.
okay.
This toilet here was left with feces on the side there. If you can see inside. The top of the stove from where they didn't clean for 2 years. That was a condition that I received the home in. There was like grease stuck with, I guess, dust. This is the garage. They had a refrigerator here, so I'm assuming they dropped food or, but this is the condition that the floor in the garage was. Upstairs where Ian was, Mr. Oliver was sleeping, there was urine from the pet in the wood. That is the condition that I received. The floors. If you can see here, there's rodent feces that were left on shelves. These are the floors. Again, this is not how I gave them the home. They were scratches, I guess, from moving out. The trash had to be emptied as well. There was some stuff in there that the trash wouldn't take. Again, the wood needed deep cleaning. These are all food stains that even after cleaning could not come off. And all of that with the saturated walls is what we're trying to recover, because we would not be able to rent the home in that condition. So the saturated walls, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's they're just different parts, Your Honor. I don't understand what all this is. That's in the kitchen. This we already saw. It's one of the bedrooms. He said he didn't know what it is. Upstairs as well. Grease, dirt. The doors were left this way. All of that needed to be painted. That picture that they had was really blurry, but that's what this picture is. It's a really shiny Venetian finishing. The home's a custom home. And so there was, a lot of parts of it that are very nice, like this wall, but they punched it with, leaving knuckles behind and stuff like that. And there was way more, Your Honor. There was the racks on the stove. Mr. Oliver was text on an inspection where he turned it on. He turned on a self-clean with the racks inside, and he turned them, they all turned like a charcoal color. We're not even trying to recover that, just to show, you know, we're not just trying to add prices here, but that alone is costing us $1,300 to replace. But this is a need repair of paint. And like I said, if we would have gotten the home with, you know, the thumb holes and the caulking that was smeared and all of the pictures that they showed, which I don't know when they took those pictures, then that would have been fine. But this is what we're trying to recover. This is on various walls where I can't rent like that. The shelves were like this. That's this shelf here. But throughout the home, this is what I was facing. Areas like this. And they're sitting there in those pictures that I sent you, Your Honor. And I also have pictures of, let me see if I can pull these up. These are all pictures of how I left the home prior to when they were given it to them.
Look at that.
This is the picture that they showed you.
Is that supposed to be one color?
Yes, it's a Venetian plaster, so it's just different colors. Where did the pictures go?
Okay, anything else?
I just want to show the condition of what it was with the pictures that we had before.
Concrete.
And so here are countertops. Here are pictures of how it was before they're moving. like I mentioned, yes, there was, not a problem with the holes and not a problem with all of that was documented. Just what was not documented, which is all those liquid stains that we have when they moved out, all the rat feces, the condition of the walls, the floors, the smell that was left behind from the
We've gone
smoke.
through that. Anything else?
No, that's all, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zippers, do you have any questions, Ms. Delgado?
One of the emails that she showed briefly had the full move-in inspection. And I think it might be on that one she's on right there. It was at the bottom. A little bit more of the actual tenant comments. You showed us the first page, but I think you have the balance there somewhere. That one. Okay, so that's the first page that you showed us. The additional pages, if we could see that.
Yes, right here. Like I said, holes in drywall, chip paint, no problem. If we get the home back that way, no problem. Gap between,
So Ms. Delgado, it's your testimony to the judge that this property was just painted prior to the tenants moving into the property, but you're saying that when they moved into the property, there was chip paint throughout and holes in the wall. Is that correct?
right, there was pish pins that were left on the wall, push pins. You had the pictures of that. That's not the problem though.
Okay.
It's everything
So
else
that answered my question is it's your testimony that it was entirely painted. You stated that the racks, I won't get into that. And then you're also charging for hard water stains on some of the glass appliances for cleaning the hard water stains. Is that the pictures that you were showing us?
I don't see that on my list of what I charged. Can you show that to me?
That's part of the cleaning service. You showed us photos of the sink and the shower. Those were hard water stains on that property?
No, the cleaning was because there was a smell left behind from the pet or from the smoking. We don't know from what, but there was a smell. And I have a document to that here, if you will, let me pull that.
Okay, no, I think that's all of the questions that I had. You can go ahead and stop your screen share. That's all we had, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Delgado, you have Mr. Jeffries. Did you want to testify?
Yeah, I'll say something real quick, sir. How you doing, sir?
Good.
Like Mr. Rager and Mr. Oliver were saying, they've rented out many times in their life. I've rented out many people too myself. And I've never had to deal with clients like this either. I mean, the house was in very, very good condition. They signed documents. I mean, it was like a total daycare with these guys. I mean, I know they're young, they're doing their thing, but the smoking, the walls, the doors, I mean, the feces, the parking, it was always something. And I know he's pinpointing, the chip, the holes in the wall from a picture being hung up. I get that. And it was documented. Everything else shown here, sir, from everything I just named, there's an issue with it. And the dog was more than, they're under oath also, and that dog was there for more than 30 days. I know they're going to present to the military and they did this and that, and I respect that. But at the same time, I've had military people too, and it's never been like this. And it had to go this far, and here we are. I mean, they say they did this and that with the rat feces, and they show a receipt. Well, 6-7 months later, it's there again. It's there. They didn't take care of it, whether they did it or not. It wasn't taken care of. It just was a total daycare with these guys. They've been told, and Ms. Delgado's presenting, can you clean this up? Then it's cleaned up. Can you clean that up? At one time, I even told her, don't even tell them to clean it up no more. Just leave it alone. That way it'll even be more. But they were told, like the Christmas trees and everything else in the back, way past Christmas. It's got to be, they got to be told to do it. And then there's still all this that's not done. But that's all I got to say. I mean, she presented the pictures. He presented some chips and stuff. That was documented. Everything else is after and done by them. I mean, they say they turned the remote in. The remote's broke. I mean, I know you turned it in, but the remote's broke. I mean, you can't tell me you did. Every time we asked Mr. Rager a question, it was very convenient for him to say, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't know, the whole time. But when you ask him a question, he answers it. But I mean, that's all I got to say, sir.
Mr. Zimbrist, do you have any questions of Mr. Jeffries?
No, Your Honor.
I had one. What was it? Is it your contention the house was painted before they moved in?
Yes, sir.
When was it painted? The whole house, the whole interior?
The whole house.
When was it painted?
It was like 30, 40 foot, like a month and a half before they moved in. Nobody was in it, got painted.
Who painted it?
We had a contractor.
You don't recall who the contractor was?
Yes, his name was Joel Ramirez. I mean, I can try to pull out some receipt that we had from 2 years ago.
Okay. How long was the lease for?
2 years.
The lease term was 2 years from the beginning, from when it was signed?
What, 1 year consecutive after another.
Okay, so, I mean, you could have terminated it at any time after that first year, could you not?
Right, like Mr. Oliver
That
stated,
was just a question. Yes, you could. Yes.
yes.
Okay. If it was, I mean, as bad as you're claiming now, why didn't you just give them 30 days to terminate the lease?
When we told them we didn't want them there anymore was 3 months prior to the lease expiring. So I told them, let's get through these next 3 months because I called Mr. Oliver so that I can go ahead and
Did you give them notice to terminate?
I didn't give him notice to terminate, no. They told us that we're gonna move out and we were fine with it. That's what we wanted.
Okay, but they didn't, did they? Or
Right after that, they did.
Yes, when we spoke on an inspection 30 days prior to them leaving,
okay, I'm just saying the lease term was a year, and the testimony has been they occupied it for 2 years. Correct?
yes, sir.
Okay.
First, it was fine, like you stated. sir.
Why wasn't it terminated the 13th month?
We didn't have any issues.
They were fixing the problems and doing what they had when they were told to do it. You know, I'm not just gonna, I'm not gonna kick somebody out. Just, you know, they were given chances and they talked to us freely, different people, different time. Mr. Oliver, Mr. Reagan, the other gentleman that one time we went to the door and he had COVID and he talked to us through the door. But then they presented they were leaving. They're getting out of here. They wanted out of here too. And then
On the
They-
13th month?
No, they said that 3 months, no, they told us that 30 days before they left. That's when they said they wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because of the pet. Because I went to inspect one time at 5 on a Saturday for the pet. And then,
I'm not interested in when the pet was. I'm just interested why, if they were such a problem, why weren't they terminated?
because like Mr. Wolfgang said, we gave them opportunities and in the end with the pet, that was the final straw for us.
and even then,
They
with
stayed there 6 months after that, did they not?
Yes.
Mhm.
We just let the lease run out and then,
The lease had run out 6 months prior.
no.
no,
When the pet happened, it was only 3 months left for the lease. So that's when we told them, let's just get through these
And
next
end it.
3 months. And then we'll be ending
It
this.
was October of 2020, was it not?
but the dog was in there another time. The dog was in there. It wasn't just 24 hours, sir. They're going with the first time they saw the dog.
I'm just going from when your notice was. That's all I'm.
My notice for what?
October, was it October of 2020, was it not?
For the pet?
Yes.
The pet was 3 months prior to the lease.
I recall an email dated in October of 2020. Am I mistaken?
I know that it was 3 months before.
Just
because-
when the email was, it's all I'm asking. When was the email about the pet?
I can look for it.
Your Honor, it's our Exhibit D,
Okay,
which is Bates Smart's Plaintiffs 58,
and what's the date of it?
October 23rd, 2020.
2020. So that's 6 months prior, they moved out in April? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, April 30th.
October 23rd, 2020, okay. So the lease is already on month-to-month basis at that time, is it not?
I'm sorry?
The lease is on a month-to-month basis at that time, is it not?
No, it was for a whole year. So we just said we would let the lease,
When is the lease through? What's the term of the lease?
it was every year from,
Your Honor, it's our Exhibit A. It was renewed after the first year.
It was renewed for a whole nother year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's all I'm trying to find out.
it
Thank
was
you.
at the end of April, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Mrs. Delgado or Mr. Jeffries?
No, sir.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Zimfrich, you had something else? You had attorney's fees?
Yes, Your Honor. Just the normal, my name is Michael Zimbrich. I'm an attorney licensed in El Paso. This case has required substantial time and effort. The number of documents, reviewing the evidence, analyzing the evidence, interviewing witnesses, and preparing for trial has required substantial time in preparing this case. I have expended the total billable hours to the client as stated at the beginning of this, including expenses, was 2,800, and I believe it was $2,870. We spent two hours giving testimony. That would bring the total billable to the client of $34,7055. This case was involving the retention of a security deposit, and it's our position that the Ms. Delgado was a real estate professional and should know what can be and what cannot be withheld. Your Honor, do you want me to do a quick closing or just?
Yes, please. Yes, yes.
Your Honor, in summary, first we have questionable evidence. Ms. Delgado submitted photos to the court and sent some of those to us, and the representation of those photos was those were taken upon moving out. And further investigation of those photos, and even what she showed to the court today, she showed a photo that was from October of 2020, and continued to represent that was indicative of the condition of the property I'm vacating. So it's difficult for us to take that at face value. The additional testimony of Ms. Delgado that the property was painted just prior to the tenants moving into the property. The pictures that the tenants took, and I can understand not to, sometimes guys look at the overall picture or just look at the big issues and they take photos of, and Mr. Oliver testified that he took photos of a sampling of the bigger issues that he saw with the necessity of paint to the property. We've submitted approximately 30 photos of different issues with the paint to the property. It's our opinion that those photos clearly show that either the property was not painted prior to their entry into the property, or it was painted and a very, very poor job was done to the property. In reality, the property needed to be painted when the tenants began their occupancy. So now Ms. Delgado is attempting to cover a repair that as a landlord needed to be done to begin with. There was 2 years of normal wear and tear. The property code says that there is normal wear and tear allowable under a lease. So essentially there's conflicting evidence as to whether the property was in good condition or whether that repair needed to be done anyway. The dog, the only evidence that I've seen of a dog on the property was a single email that was sent in October, and the tenants testified that the dog was immediately removed. I've not seen any additional evidence that there was a dog there. So I really don't know how to reconcile the conflicting testimony regarding the dog. Again, Ms. Delgado is a real estate professional. She takes ethics training. She takes other training as a real estate agent. She inspected the property 30 days prior to the tenants vacating the property. In that inspection, she specifically noted approximately 5 issues in the property. 4 of those 5 issues were taken care of, which is some trash in the backyard around the property. The only issue remaining was her complaint about the walls. And again, it's our position that would have needed to be done anyway. Ms. Delgado, as a real estate professional and in her training, has training in contracts. Her contract specifically states that if a fee is due, that fee is to be paid before rent is accepted. She did not ask for a pet fee. She did not ask or demand that the sensors be paid for. She continued to accept rent despite that fee allegedly being owed. She did not notice that there was going to be a pet fee until 6 months later. And it's our position that she did not honor the contract and the terms of the contract and can now not go back and request that that fee be paid. The issues that she's complaining of, I've been a landlord for 20 years as well. And I know almost every time a tenant vacates the property, you're gonna have to repaint the property. And these are things that just a landlord has to eat, replacing carpet, repainting the property. And Ms. Delgado is trying to get the tenants here to cover part of her expenses of repainting the property, which she should know is not allowed under the property code. In summary, these individuals did the best that they could do by hiring a professional cleaner. They hired somebody to go through the property, somebody who was recommended by Ms. Delgado, and basically upon vacating the property, based on what representations from Ms. Delgado were given 30 days prior, thought that they were leaving on good terms. And we asked that the court issue a judgment for return of the security deposit and the damages sought.
Mrs. Delgado or Mr. Jeffries,
Yes, sir.
what would you like to say in closing?
I would just like to state that, like I mentioned, this will be the 3rd time. If we would have gotten the home with the conditions of the pictures that they're showing, there would be no problem. It was that we emailed them and stated, please take care of these stained walls because it's everywhere throughout the home. And then I showed them physically and they still don't do it. I'm not going to sit there and argue with them the way Mr. Oliver did, because then I get threatened as a girl. You better not do this and you better not do that. I didn't want to get in that situation with him. And that is the reason why I didn't bring it up, as Mr. Zimprich is saying that I stated on the lease. On the lease, I state that if anything's broken, that's when I would charge. For instance, they broke something before in the lease and then they were charged for it and they paid for it. Stuff like this, like the garage sensors and stuff like that, I tried to bring it up. And like I said, I didn't want to get into that confrontational situation. And so I would just ask the courts that they please not let them persuade you into saying, well, I've got all these stains on the wall and they're part of normal wear and tear. I've rented the home before and I have never had the walls that way. I don't know what was going on there, but it was everywhere and I could not rent the home that way. That is all, Your Honor.
Okay. My judgment is for a return of the deposit in the amount of $1,300 and attorney's fees in the amount of $1,200. Mr. Zimbrich, if you prepare an order or judgment, I'll sign it and email it to both of you all.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any questions?
And what is the total, sir?
It's $1,300 return of the deposit of a $2,300 deposit. I'm allowing $1,000 and attorney's fees of $1,200. Okay, I will get the document. We'll email it to both of you.
Your
Thank you
Honor,
all.
Just, so 1,300 deposit, 1,200 attorney's fees, any court costs?
And the court costs, I'm sorry. Yes,
Thank you, Judge.
thank you all. I'm going to end the